Oh boy, it's almost crunch time for the 2024 Area Pro Series Season Championship. Just 3 rounds remain in the playoffs, 2 in the final round of the eliminations, and then 1 championship finale with the last 4 drivers of the 12 qualifying in the playoffs. Tonight is the third to last round of the season, the first race of round 2 of the playoffs, and there are just 8 drivers remaining vying for those 4 spots in a 160-lap race here in Newton, Iowa. A 3/4 mile short track that is sure to bring the action as it has on Monday and Tuesday. Kyle Heyer joined by Connor Horn and Hunter Sleppy tonight. Connor, we have seen some great racing so far this week, some great strategy employed this week for all those trying to make it to the championship.
Yeah, and it's going to take strategy and just a lot of speed tonight to make it into a championship round with a victory. There's a lot of drivers that could use that victory tonight. James Scioli was probably good last week, 2 weeks ago, I should say, regardless, but he's still able to win his way into the round of 8, and he's going to try to go for yet another championship. And right now, he might have solidified himself as the favorite with that win last week. But you still got Jake Nichols, you still got Philip Groner, who won 2 of the first 3 races of the season. Braxton DeWeese has been mighty consistent. Travis Beckner has the most wins with 3. And you can't count out Jeff Wright, Zach Nichols, and Shane Theory. I mean, all 8 of these drivers can win a championship. It's not decided at all yet, Hunter.
Yeah, and especially in this stage of the game, it's only 3 races left, 2 races in this next round. And if you win, you're already on to the championship round in Atlanta, and you can just cruise into Kansas next week without any stress on the mind. But not unless your name's Jake Nichols, because you're trying to get all your Solar Flare drivers, you're trying to get all your teammates basically in the championship round to maximize opportunity for the team to win the overall championship. But it's going to be interesting seeing what happens tonight, especially looking through the point standings. The first driver that strikes a must win, well, not really a must win, but a driver who pretty much needs to have a solid night and not put himself in a must win. Shane Tierney enters dead last in the points, although it's not by much, but he still needs to have a solid showing. Same with Zach Nichols. Zach Nichols was actually second quickest in practice, so that's another driver I want to keep an eye on for tonight.
Well, it's 160 laps tonight, and we saw a lot of strategy employed, a lot of green flag running employed here this week so far here at Iowa Speedway. So there's lots to look forward to tonight, I think, as far as the racecraft is concerned. But first up, as always, is qualifying. Connor, what is the importance level like for qualifying? Not a huge field tonight, about 25 cars. So I'd imagine it's not an enormous deal, but passing's one thing, and getting there's another.
Again, there's one thing, passing's another for sure. And I think, with the smaller field, maybe the importance is not too big on qualifying tonight. But as far as the 8 playoff drivers are concerned, getting the pole is a bonus point. So you're going to try to get that bonus point regardless. And I think this is, 160 laps. I think you can get through the field and pass, especially in these Xfinity Series cars. But you still want to put yourself in the top 10 and not have to wear the tires out on the first run just passing everyone. As we'll get into this 5-minute, 2-lap qualifying session. Garrett Grant, he made start 100 in a truck series on Tuesday. He makes start 100 in the Pro Series tonight, and he'll make start number 300 across all area competition next week at Kansas. So a big 2 weeks coming up for him as he's sideways off of turn number 4 as he comes across the line. One of the first 5 to put a time down, Hunter, and he's right behind Zachary Carr, who just got eliminated.
Yeah, and Garrett Grant was going to have a top 10 performance if his last restart didn't go the way that it did, where he fell in, or I believe he finished 13th. So he knows how to get around Iowa, but different car, obviously, with the Xfinity car for the Florida State Builders Area Pro Series, as here's Ed Robertson rolling through 1 and 2.
Big bump in the middle of 1 and 2. That's been a challenge all week long, hasn't it? And a slide out of turn 2 and into the wall on the back straightaway after going second quickest of the 7 that have laid down a time so far.
We'll see how that holds up. We didn't really see many issues out of turn 2 at all this week. It's really just been turn 4. And for some, it's the entrance to turn 1 if you're not on the surface. But we'll see if turn 2 becomes that trouble spot tonight. I don't think the weather's going to be too much different from what we've seen, because Alex Bell, he's going to go to the bottom of turns number 1 and 2. The middle has those bumps. You can still make the middle line work, but you usually want to go to the bottom to get under those. That's exactly what he did, and he'll go very deep into turn number 3, hard on the brakes, trying to get the Viella line. Didn't quite get down there, trying to beat the 97's qualifying time, but still carried good speed off the corner.
See where he puts his time up, and it will be at the top of 23.894. And here's Philip Groner, one of our first playoff drivers. I think the first playoff driver to put a time down, or to attempt one.
Yeah, just starting his lap here. And entering turn 1. A little bit higher up on the racetrack in 1 and 2. We've seen drivers kind of take this 2-lap qualifying strategy a little differently depending on their confidence level on the track. Some go fast on lap 1, some go real high on the opening lap and build up some tire temperature and pressure, then go hard on lap number 2. We'll see what Groner can do on this opening lap. Pole is a 23.884. That's a 23.849. That will be top of the board first lap out.
And that's honestly a little surprising because he ran the way top in turns 3 and 4. So it'd be interesting to see if he goes faster, but that's an incredible lap. That high line should be pretty viable tonight, but we'll see if that holds up against his teammate Jake Nichols in the 6ix9ine Motorsports colors. He's out of turn number 4. Zach Nichols goes top of the board, a full 10th clear of Philip Groner, and just barely ahead of Jake Nichols in the 73, a 747 and a 774. Bryce Senesac ended his lap. Now Travis Beckner is another playoff driver trying to get up the leaderboard.
And Jake Nichols smacked the wall, flipped the wall coming out of turn 2, so that second lap won't count. But Zach Nichols now has the new track record. It was previously set for Matthew Bell from the first trip that the Pro Series went to in Season 3. In the previous record, 23.788. At 23.747, currently the track record now. And James Skiley looking to dethrone that time.
Yeah, he was real slow on the opening lap, which tells me the second lap is where the magic's going to be made. Feathering the throttle back in out of turn 4. Here he comes across the stripe, and it's a 23.805. That's quick enough for third. Not a bad lap, all things considered. Puts another one of the blue-colored drivers up into the top 5 as Deweese, Furness, Slate, and Munsell are the last 4 to get time set up here.
And Deweese, you're talking about Skiley going slow lap 1 is another one doing it. Connor Okresic just went third, so he splits the playoff drivers up there in the top 6. But Deweese, another one taking the slow lap 1 mentality to this as he goes 26th quickest, a 25 flat. But we'll see how far he cooks it in turn number 1. It looks steady, but I don't know how much speed is in this run.
Gonna be close, but I think we'll get this time in.
Everyone put a time down.
And Deweese, last driver across the stripe, 23.856. That puts him 7th. That's a pretty solid run. And that is it for qualifying. 28 drivers on the timing and scoring for this one as we get set to go racing from Iowa Speedway tonight. Before we get going racing, though, race fans, be sure to subscribe to the Area iRacing Twitch channel. As a subscriber, you'll have Area iRacing emotes to use in the chat and earn double channel points that you can use to redeem for free merchandise for just $5 a month. Join today at twitch.tv/Area iRacing. And remember that we're in the last couple of weeks of SimTV streams here for the Area Series, so you should subscribe to the Twitch channel. Make sure you don't miss the next round of races for the Area Series in season number 7. Warm-up period here, and we'll take a quick look at some of those that are giving us the onboard perspectives here this evening. One of which, hello, that's me, that's Apollo, and that is Braxton Deweese giving us his onboard look. Travis Beckner, as always, is giving us his perspective, and then Bryce Senesac is giving us his onboard tonight, and he'll join us in his machine. So there's our looks on board. Expectations, Connor, tonight looking to look like Monday or Tuesday?
I would think it's still going to look like Monday and Tuesday. I wouldn't be surprised if we see maybe 1 or 2 extra yellows compared to what we saw on both of those nights, but this should be a pretty solid race, I would think. And once again, lower car count should contribute to some cleaner racing. Only 28 drivers in the field tonight. Didn't even know Logan Clampett's in this field. He'll start back in 27th, but we know how fast he is. He's stolen victories, almost stolen victories all season long, so he's going to be a threat to come from the rear as one of those drivers who just didn't get that good of a time down.
I wonder if we'll see any strategies right off the bat, kind of like what you had Monday night. I'm pretty sure tire wear is different compared to the next gen and the Xfinity car, but interested in seeing if someone will replicate that or if we'll just see guys try to just feel out the track and feel what groove they want to run in and then just try to preserve the tires as long as they can.
Tire preservation. How about car preservation? That turn 4 wall jumps out at you. And then that turn 1 and 2 bump, that was a big topic of discussion on Tuesday in particular. Drivers kind of searching around, finding the grip. You can kind of see where the track has that bump kind of center just beyond that yellow line that you see at the pit exit. You see that where the rubber darkens just a little bit. And that's a pretty gnarly bump there to navigate, Connor. So later in the run when the car starts to free up or tighten up, whatever way it starts to go on you, that'll unsettle the car.
Yeah, and you can see it where you have the darker type of rubber, and then you have that part on the bottom of the racetrack where it gets light again, kind of where Alex Bell kind of just jumped over it and got sideways. That's a big transition for these Xfinity cars. I think they take bumps better than the next gens, but it still gets the car sideways. And sometimes if you have a tighter setup in the center of the corner, you can actually use that bump to your advantage to get you sideways and get you cutting through the corner a little bit better. We'll see if anyone uses that to their advantage tonight at that end of a racetrack. 3 and 4 is more self-explanatory. It's not bumpy there at all. You can run the bottom and you'll see drivers on the top as well.
Take note of the Central Mobile Homes starting lineup. If you're looking for a small or large home, a new shed, or a Triple Crown trailer, look no further than Central Mobile Homes. They've been proudly serving Florida customers for 28 years with a plethora of small and large home floor plans, shed designs, and Triple Crown trailers. Available in LaBelle, Okeechobee, Clewiston, and Sebring. Head to centralmobilehomes.com to get started today. We'll head down to the racetrack and get rolling with our starting lineup from Central Mobile Homes, and we'll kick things off with the front row. It's Zach Nichols in the number 44 and Jake Nichols in the 73. That'll kick off that front row, Connor.
A big pole for Zach Nichols. It moves him to 4 below the cut line before he starts tonight. Jake Nichols is 20 points above. Connor Kresick, non-playoff driver, starts 3rd. James Scioli, reigning 2-time series champion, trying to go for 3, and he starts 4th tonight.
Philip Groner starts 5th in the number 11 Chevy Camaro. Jeff Wright to his outside of the number 48 rolls off in 6th place.
7th position, Braxton DeWeese, who's had a great season, but comes in today 1 above the cut line, actually. And John Furness, who won at Bristol 3 weeks ago, I should say, he starts 8th.
9th place, Shane Therian in the number 9 machine. That's a Toyota Supra. Brad Slaughter Jr. rolls off 10th in the number 8.
11th position, very fast in qualifying, but didn't probably qualify where he wanted to. Alex Bell in the 15. Zachary Carr recently eliminated, but always fast at these tracks. He starts 12th.
Greg Mitchell, also recently eliminated, starts 13th place in the number 2 Chevrolet Camaro. David Weishart, 14th in number 33.
15th position, the 38 of Alex Bryson, and then back in 16th position, a little bit surprising, Travis Beckner all the way back here. He comes in tonight 1 below the cut line to DeWeese, and he has work to do.
Ed Robertson and Justin Anisogak share row number 9, 17th and 18th in the 64 and 88.
19th position, the 98, another Toyota Supra, that is Rafe Slate, and then alongside him, who we have it on board with, is Bryce Senesek in a 09.
And then Justin Munsell starts 21st in the number 6, Brody Falliker 22nd in the number 42.
23rd position, Matt Kemp, who's been fast all season. If his internet can help it, he starts 23rd. Colin Fambro further back as well on 24th.
And 25th place is Logan Clampett in the number 90. That'll be a factor tonight, I'm sure. Bronson Stafford, 28th in the number 61. And that's it. That's the field. Hunter, who you got winning this race?
So Scioli's won 2 out of 3, but last time we were here, Travis Beckner led the most laps, but did not get the win. That was Alan Nelson who won the race, but he's not in this field tonight, so kind of a toss-up. I'm going to go with Jake Nichols, though. We're right in front of Scioli.
Connor, who you got?
I don't care if he's starting 27th. I got to go Logan Clampett. He's too fast not to take.
Well, I'm going to go with Jeff Wright. I think I like him on the short tracks. That number 48 gets it done here tonight. We'll go around one more time before we turn them loose. Have another look at the weather information. Track's cooled off since practice and qualifying, down about 7 or 8 degrees. And now we're left with about 94 degrees Fahrenheit.
Not a lot of wind either, so that usually on a short track, the wind, this is usually when the wind will affect your car the least compared to a track like Michigan or Auto Club, but it could still get you loose or sideways depending on what end you are in, but only about a mile an hour. That won't do anything.
So 160 laps, green from flag to flag, is about it's about an hour and 3 minutes from start to finish. If we go green from flag to flag, which I imagine is possible. See how things pan out here tonight from the Iowa Speedway.
Watch this restart. 2nd place usually can get a decent jump on the race leader, but that didn't happen on Tuesday. We'll see which Nichols prevails.
Here we go into the restart zone, into the start zone for the first time tonight. The 3rd to last round of the season in Season 6 for the Area Florida State Builders Area Pro Series underway. Nichols and Nichols into Turn 1. Just like that, that's how fast the lap is done. 24 seconds on the opening lap. And Jake Nichols powers to the lead. Zach drops into second, then it's Okrezik, Scioli fighting for third place.
That's what I was kind of worried about for the 44. If Jake Nichols was just able to stay on his outside into turn one, he was going to get that position. That's exactly what happened.
And took advantage of that outside lane, and now the 97 is Zachary Carr trying to take advantage of the outside lane, trying to get in the top 10 around the 9 of Tyrion.
So double file back here. Pretty tight field, 28 drivers, not a tiny field, not an enormous one though, but it's still very close on the third lap of this event. Braxton Deweese right in the thick of it all in that 13. Move his way forward. Started in 7th. He's dropped a spot in the early going. Is right ahead of Brad Slaughter Jr. There's Shane Therian with a big lunge in the 9 down to the inside.
And it's not surprising to be seeing him be aggressive. He comes in, it's a nice 6 below the cut line, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's the furthest. He's seeded 8 of 8, so he's got to have a really good result tonight to even have a fighting chance of pointing in next week at Kansas, so he's got to be aggressive.
Has a top 5 finish at this track in the past, but looking to make up some ground because almost all the playoff drivers are in front of him. The only driver behind him is Travis Beckner, still fighting around the 14th position as look throughout the field. Brad Slaughter's in this inside the top 10. Got a couple playoff drivers in front of him and to his inside.
Yeah, look at all the playoffs lighting up the ticker in the top 10 at the moment. That's all good news for them. Maybe not so much for Deweese and Therian because they're on the kind of the bottom end of those right now, but that 9 really trying to make progress here early when everyone's close together. He's gone nowhere though effectively since the start of the race despite those big lunges.
And it hasn't spread out. Not that it would in 5 laps, but everyone's still pretty packed up on each other from first place all the way back to Garrett Grant in the 28th position, only about 4.5 seconds. So these drivers are going to have to get used to racing each other, tight-knit racing for a little while before we start seeing drivers get away from one another.
Slaughter trying to power the outside to get around Deweese, but he's got John Furness in front of him, so not really much he can go. Also, there's an outside wall. Don't want to push the envelope too soon, but he's trying to get that outside lane rolling, but yeah, he's actually 3 wide now, and look at him going that outside, passing Deweese and Philip Groner.
Making moves already. That outside lane, you can carry quite a bit of momentum. Each end of the racetrack drives a little different. Got the bump to contend with on the bottom in 1 and 2. Look at Jeff Wright putting some pressure now on James Scioli. This is for third place between these two Chevrolets, and Wright goes to the top side. He's the first of the front runners to do so.
Yeah, having leverage on the outside is pretty important, so Jeff Wright's going to be the first one to try to get up there and try to get back by the 7 of Scioli. He got by him for a brief moment, and then the 7 got back by, but he's really pushing hard on that outside, probably trying to at least maybe try to lead a lap and get that bonus point, but you saw Zach Nichols in the center of the corner realize what was happening and throttled up to make sure he protected his right rear quarter panel.
Carr, do you think it's too soon to be seeing guys pushing the outside lane? I mean, we know that it's going to be a good benefit in the short term, at least for now, but in the long run, I'm not sure if it's going to be beneficiary. A lot more guys still on the bottom though.
I definitely wouldn't want to push it too hard up there, but I don't think it's going to be as bad as it was on Monday night if you were up there. I mean, if you ran it on Monday, you were absolutely toast after probably 10, 15, 20 laps. I think you could get away with it tonight, but you probably, as far as tire wear, you probably don't want to be the first up there. Philip Groner's having to do it just to defend and not fall any further back than he has already. He's back to 8th, but if you want to keep those tires on it, definitely get to the bottom. But if you want that track position quick and are hoping for a quick yellow, you can get that top line going.
Nate Nichols out front continues to hold the advantage, or John Furness in the 28 up the racetrack a little. Connor Okrezik in the 14 down in the middle. Braxton Deweese down to 10th, trying to move up the racetrack and find some momentum.
He's another one who's kind of been falling a little bit. Started 7th, back to 10th. Groner 5th, back to 8th. So 3 spots lost for both of them. And Therian trying his best to go forward, but this is what we've been seeing all week long. It is just so hard to make that pass complete on the bottom line because everyone is going to go to the top to defend, no doubt about it. It's kind of like how Dover is. As long as you run the middle line, it takes so much effort for the driver on the bottom to get that pass done without a mistake or contact. So Therian's seeing that be a big issue right now, especially when he's blocked behind Okrezik, who's another one going backwards.
No, one driver not going backwards. That's the 27 of Beckner there. He's looking to the inside of David Weishardt's climbed a couple of positions since the start of this one. He's closing in on this little gaggle of cars here, right around 10th, where Deweese, Therian, and Connor Okrezik are duking it out.
little gaggle there out of 2, and the 13 got in the fence. I think maybe the 97 followed him up there.
And he might have left rear damage out of it. And any damage to the rear bumper is going to really hurt your handling. So the Weiss is going to have to be really, really careful with how he wheels his vehicle. I don't think the 97 got damaged. I think he just hit the 13 in the bumper and got away with it. But yeah, there's some definite left rear damage on that 13.
Trying to hang on to that top 10 spot, still duking it out with the 9 of Tyrion. And Travis Beckner, again, just watching this unfold in front of them, just keeping his time on the bottom, trying to get around 33 of Weishart. But again, that outside lane still proven to be too tough to tame.
Wrong track.
Well, all the tracks can be tough to tame at times.
Just like they're all action tracks.
I don't know if any of you guys follow me on Instagram, but I didn't even realize this, but in the GR Cup race at Indianapolis, I accidentally rhymed, and someone was like, it was like, bars, dude, and commented in the comments, and I posted it the other day. It was pretty funny. And I feel like I almost just did that just now. This is still the fiercest battle on the racetrack. We haven't really been able to take our eyes off this, the 9 and the 13 so far.
And Deweese, I think, is going to start to struggle a lot more than most others around them. But I think Therion's been pushing his stuff pretty hard, too. So both of these drivers might not benefit from this huge battle at this point. We'll just have to wait and see. But meanwhile, we were talking about Travis Beckner's progress. He was up 3 positions from his starting spot, but he's definitely been stalled. He has not been able to make progress around David Weishart. Weishart keeps running middle while Beckner runs to bottom. Then Weishart's just able to get back by the 27 with ease. Not too surprising. Weishart was fast on Tuesday. We was second for a lot of that race.
Well, Brad Slaughter was able to get around the 11 of Philip Groner for the 6th position, so slowly but surely, that 8 car's climbing towards the top 5, with John Furness now the first the last one of the top 5 to be in the crosshairs for Slaughter. Meanwhile, this battle still rolls on. Deweese clears Tyrion, going to cross him over, heading into 3.
Oh, that was a huge send from the 9.
I don't think Deweese liked him diving like that, crossing over. I think that was more of a pinch, a swerve/pinch, saying, I'm faster, just let me go and we'll be fine. I don't think Deweese wanted that battle to carry on any further.
He will not. James Scioli was not able to fend off the 48. But Jeff Wright moves up into 3rd.
You're starting to see these drivers kind of change their approach as this run goes on. We're 20 laps in. You're starting to see Scioli inch up the racetrack, and now you're seeing Jeff Wright going to the bottom. So now Scioli probably thinking, okay, I have better tires than him. I can attack him a little bit. As I say that, Jeff Wright's going to go defensive and go back to the high side to protect that position. We talked to John Hall after the race on Tuesday, and he talked about how Dirty Air was a big factor in how he raced for the race lead with Weishart in that truck race. So this could be Jeff Wright kind of realizing that having slightly cleaner air might be important, and he's going to try to keep this position at all costs.
Well, we're over 20 laps in, Kyle, and looking at the lap times, it's about 8/10 to, well, throughout the field, about 6/10 to 8/10 of a second. Nichols at least 8/10 of a second off his fastest time. Almost a full second of runoff for some guys throughout the field.
Ooh, a little bit of a wiggle there from the 97 to Zach Carr, and that's going to open the door for Travis Beckner in the 27 to tuck up underneath. I talked a lot about him tonight. It's been slow going so far, 16th to 13th.
Like I said, he's been stuck behind Weishart. Now he's going to have to try to battle the 97 instead, but he's been stuck in 13th for about 15 laps at this point, as this is now one of the more fierce battles on the track. I'm seeing Deweese go after Okrezik, but he's not able to make that pass. As you can see, it's going to be tough to make this work, as most of the field's actually pretty single file at this point.
Except the battle in front of Beckner, still Carr trying to look around the 33 of Weishart, trying to stop the bleeding, but there's 4 different lanes being used just up the road from him. I mean, this is just how Iowa is. And oh wow, look at the 33 sending it all the way low into 1.
Yeah, giving it a big lunge down there in that 33 up the hill. And the Shane Therion has been in the nucleus of battle so far, hasn't he?
In the middle of it all, and he's been able to withstand most of it all. He's just he had that fight with the 13 for about 15 laps. He's just pretty much just trying to stay there at this point as Weishart gets back by Zachary Carr. Now I think those two are in a pretty decent battle as well. And we were talking about who's moved up 2 or 3 positions. Well, Logan Clampett, no surprise, he started 27th. He's right behind Beckner. He's actually battling Alex Bell just out of frame. He's all the way up to the 15th position.
Yeah, he's that black car there in the middle of the racetrack, still trying to work his way around Travis Beckner. He's up to the bumper, but hasn't been able to do so just yet, although give her time, maybe a couple of laps, and then that can persist because Beckner's been struggling to get around the 97 and the 33, but he's stuck on the bottom. He can't, unless he uses the outside lane, he'll just stay there.
Six-tenths of a second. Make it 7 now for Jake Nichols, and lap times again settling in about 7 or 8 tenths of a second slower. What's our pit stop window looking like again? Are we going to try to one-stop this, Connor, if you can?
I think you're going to be able to one-stop it. It would have to fall off a lot more than this to make the 2-stop worth it. So if you can make it to lap 80, you're going to try to at least.
If the opportunity is there, might as well take it. Although I wouldn't be surprised if we see someone try to do like splitting the 2 stops if the tire wears too much for that driver to handle, but still too early to tell. About to complete 30 laps in, and Logan Clampett just clearing the 44 of actually no, that's Clampett behind Bell. I got the whole car mixed up, but nonetheless, they're still duking it out. And here comes Beckner trying to get around Zachary Carr, but again, that outside lane too powerful for him to overcome.
Working the bottom there of the 97 and clicking away laps. Lap 30 complete this time by.
And there's so many people right now that are not trying to go forward. They're just trying not to go backward. And it's everyone on the top line just trying not to go backward. So they're not really attacking the driver in front of them. Carr won't try to go to the inside of the 33. Beckner has gone to the inside of the 97, though, but most of these drivers, like the 15 of Alex Bell, they're just defending up there. They have no intention of trying to go forward. As Logan Clampett, he's supposed to be in the 90, but he's in the 44. I think that's his college series scheme. He's still trying to get through the field, but now he's been stuck behind Alex Bell for a number of laps.
Yeah, it seems like that growth has plateaued a little bit for him. Meanwhile, Weishart's still moving his way up inside the top 10, getting around the 9 of Therian. Whoa, not for long. Wow. A moment off 2, and now he's going to lose 2 spots. Beckner got on the wall from that. A lot of chaos ensued between 3 and 4.
That was a pretty dramatic moment there. You saw Travis Beckner swing the wheel to the side, and he got up into the fence, but right back to focus mode to try to take advantage of those that got a little sideways and crossed up.
I don't even know if he got damage out of that. He might have gotten really fortunate if he didn't. It's like Weishart got sideways, and he tried to, at the last second, slide in front of Theory and realized that wasn't going to happen, lifted out of it. Then Beckner tried to go to the middle of all that, realized that hole was closing, so he basically put himself in the wall to save the 33's race. So quick thinking by everyone there, but even through all that, he's still behind Zachary Carr.
Yeah, still to the inside of that 97, trying to negotiate a run through 1 and 2, but again, just coming up a little bit short. Had a big moment there off 2. Not going to help the tires at all. Weishart's trying to stop the bleeding. He's got Logan Clampett behind him and Alex Bell to his inside.
A little bit of a wiggle there for the 15 up underneath Clampett.
This is a position I think Clampett wants to be in at this point, but at the same time, it might be trouble because I think Weishart's starting to go backwards. Now he's going to have to contend with him.
Still creeping along the part of 3 and 4, 13th, 14th, and 15th up for grabs, and Bryson and Justin Munsell lurking in the back as this battle continues to unfold in front of them.
And it really hasn't loosened up a lot back here. From 10th on back to about 15th to 18th. Field is almost as tight as they were in the opening laps, about a half a tenth to a tenth between each car. And they're just chasing each other up the hill, all trying to vie for that outside momentum to make those passes a little easier.
We're about 20, at this rate, we're like 20 laps away from someone pulling a Hail Melon because everyone is trying to get to the outside wall. You're not seeing that too much in 1 and 2, but I say that Zachary Carr just pushed the limits. You do not see drivers run that high in 1 and 2 that often because of the bumps up there, but I think he just found a new line, and he should probably get Therian at this point in the run by doing that. Now he has positioning, and now I think Beckner's going to try to follow him through, and he should, so it's not what Therian needs to see.
Yeah, Zachary Carr is that guy on the interstate who's got that little add-on on the side of his motorcycle, and Travis Beckner's alongside that because he's just Beckner's just right behind him and he's with him for the run. And Carr's into 10th, Beckner now into 11th, and they're both running that upper groove and running it really well.
About a quarter of the way through this race now as we approach lap 40. Lap 80 will be our halfway mark. And still no sign of anybody tackling Jake Nichols. Now, there are a couple drivers that are running quicker. Basically, everyone second, third, and fourth just ran a faster lap time than Jake Nichols, but he maintains an 1/8 of a second advantage over the rest of the field.
Yeah, so Zach Nichols, he's been taking a few chunks out of it here and there. I think right now the other one on this run you can get him would be the 44, the actual 44. As Beckner just slid up in front of Zachary Carr, he finally got that 10th position away. But yeah, these two just setting a pretty even pace, 0.8 of a second separated from one another, and I think a big part of that is James Scully just kind of being stuck behind Jeff Wright. The 48 got by, and 48's kind of been defending, and Scully hasn't lost the 48. I think he is faster, but he has not been able to really make any move on Jeff Wright.
Been able to close up to him, but hasn't been able to get around in right to the inside. Scully just picking it on the outside lane, and well, did not get a good run there, although it's starting to pick it up a little bit, but still just fighting for the third position. John Furness looking to reel him in a little bit, about 4 car lengths back from this battle.
Yeah, but I think sorry to cut you off, Kyle, but I think you can see the difference in the 48's pace and how it's holding up the 7. He was a full 10th slower than Jake and Zach Nichols, and Scully was still pretty close to the leader's pace right behind the 48, but the 48's starting to fall off. Not as hard as the 9's falling off, though. Shane Therian's back to 15th, but Scully's got to get this 48 out of the way if this goes green to have a chance of winning, realistically.
Ooh, down the inside, here comes Scioli. That's almost a touch. There is a touch there between the two. And Jeff Wright gets back in the throttle, re-clears the 7, but that was a tense moment.
Yeah, I think he's getting impatient. He sees the top two getting away, Hunter, and he's trying to force the issue and go so they don't get away, but they're already 2.5 seconds out.
Yeah, just trying to do too much there through turn 1 that last time by. Just almost created a bad wreck, and don't want to do that to a playoff contender, especially Jeff Wright. I mean, it's not like, oh, he barely got in. No, he's a front runner. He knows how to put his car in position to win. So glad that didn't happen. Don't want to make enemies at this part of the season, Kyle, but the battle's still continuing outside the top 10. Here comes Logan Clampett. This is right on 10th, actually. 10th and 11th. Beckner clipping the wall in the front stretch, but still giving it to Clampett on the outside.
Yeah, I think Clampett, again, you guys documented
it. Crash. Colin Fambro and Rafe Slate just crashed hard in turn number 1. Fambro's flipping, and I was about to point this out. They hit out of turn 4. They hit the lap before almost. I think it just went sour, and Fambro went flipping.
That was a big one. Have
That
a
was
look
ugly.
at this. This is in 3 and 4. They're already together, as you pointed out.
And a little touch there. Faliker is a bystander, and we kind of saw this with Patrick Moose and Garrett Grant.
Yeah. Very
That was
similar.
but a much harder hit.
Yeah, almost an identical scenario, actually, just kind of turning down. I mean, it doesn't look like he was really trying to cut down on him there. Like, he almost had him crossed over instead. But the slightest miscalculation, and around they went. So this will be an easy pit stop moment here, and everyone will come on down, and 4 tires and fuel, I imagine.
I would think so. You're not going to try 2 tires, especially if you're a playoff driver. Maybe if you're Logan Clampett just messing around, sure, but this should be 4 tires and fuel. And that incident, I think Fambro's probably going to be upset at Rafe Slate, and especially after the contact they had 3 and 4, but Fambro didn't get to the bottom, and I'm sure Slate was anticipating him to at least go a little lower, so I don't know what to really make of that incident. It's not like Moose and Grant on Tuesday where they were all kind of pinched to the bottom. That was a completely different scenario.
Yeah, I mean, Fambro kind of ran the 98 a slate up in 3 and 4, and maybe he thinks that the 98 like paid him back. Ooh, was it Zach Nichols that beat him at the line?
I think Jake got him.
Jake did get him.
James Skylerly did get Jeff Wright, so he'll be really happy about that as well.
Oh, Clampett up to 7th. I think he did take 2.
Clampett took 4.
No, he took 4.
It's
Wow.
a really good stop, 13.9. Only 2 other drivers matched that in the top 20.
And Shane Theron, the lowest running playoff driver, he'll be in the 16th position on this restart. And with the way the points are looking, he needs to get up there because he's like 16 points back right now by my count. So that's kind of what I expected, though. He ran really hard to get those positions early, and he fell back pretty much to where he came from.
So under yellow for the first time today, we'll take a moment to thank our replay partner, Hendry County Motorsports Park. Racing is back at the Hendry County Motorsports Park. Join us on November 9th to see Crusoe late models, UMP open wheel modifieds, factory stocks, and more. Tickets are $15 for adults with discounted prices for seniors, teens, and kids ages 5 and under are free. Come see racing at the southernmost dirt track in America, located in Clewiston, Florida, off US Highway 27. Visit HenryRacing.com for more information. We should get the 1 to green this time, too, I would imagine. And it looks like Jake Nichols is going to elect for the bottom for the restart. Put Zach Nichols up top. Lights are out.
So funny how many races, at least as far as the driver who ends up leading a bunch of laps, it's always dictated, seems, by the initial start. I feel like more times than not, the driver who qualifies second gets to jump on the actual pole sitter. And that's all because it's on green and not in the restart zone. But this is another time where the driver who started second gets the advantage.
Yeah, the only advantage here is that Jake Nichols is the leader, so he can go anywhere in the box, and that might throw the 44 off, but will be interesting to see the first restart of the night, if the inside lane is just cursed or if the outside lane is just that dominant.
Pace car is going to make the hard left onto pit lane. We're coming to the restart now. Lap number 50 of 160. Green flag. Jake Nichols fires off. Ooh, big bounce over the center bump there in 1 and 2. Zach Nichols goes up the racetrack. Scioli had a spin slide out of turn 2. That was the 27 of Beckner. He saved it.
That was wild. I don't think he even made contact with anyone. He just got way sideways off the corner. And I was really looking at Scioli trying to charge at turn 1 to get by the 44, but he couldn't quite do it.
The battles continue in the 1 and 2, and Deweese and Zach Carr duking it out just behind them. David Weishart as well. They're almost 4 wide coming out of turn 2 back there. They keep it straight for now into 3.
They were trying. Wright and Scioli, these two have been door-to-door sometime this race.
Yeah, once again, he just got by him on pit road, but the 48 has good short run speed. Is going to get him back, and Philip Groner's going to try and take advantage on the outside.
Yeah, Scioli was parking it on the bottom, and Jeff Wright said, all right, well, I'll park it on the outside, and just scooted on by. So here's the 8 of Slaughter, the 13 of Deweese. This is for the 10th position. The 8th's starting to fall back just a little bit, but in front of him, though, Beckner's cracked the top 10 and is looking to make heavy progress throughout that rest of the top 10 in front of him.
There's Jeff Wright. He's looking for second at the front of the field. Same time, Zachary Carr is looking for 11th, but the 48 he is fast short run. This is usually his strength, but he's just never able to really have long run speed at all tracks. Some tracks he does, but a lot of times you'll see him surge short run and fade a little long run.
That was kind of what happened earlier when he got around the 7 of Scioli. Scioli's just on the bottom, the outside lane too strong, and he just had to settle for the 44 again around him again. So single file for the most part. Around 10th is where that battle is starting to subside for the moment between Slaughter and Deweese, but Now there's the 48 of Jeff Wright going back to the outside, see if he can get a good run on Zach Nichols down the front stretch.
Yeah, everyone's kind of single filed out pretty quickly after this restart. Jeff Wright dropping off the timing and scoring screen. That's not good news. He's back for a moment and merging into the 44. That's never a fun time.
Oh, that's a worst case scenario for both drivers involved. Thankfully, nothing happened besides that, but he's going to go right back to the top side like nothing happened.
Yeah, don't want that to happen to anyone, especially two playoff drivers. That would be huge for the rest of the field. Again, Jake Nichols still leading, almost 60 laps in. And Philip Groner, teammate, making some progress. He's up to 4th and looking to close in on Jeff Wright for the 3rd position, but still has a 7 of Skyler lurking to the inside.
Battling a little bit deeper in the field there. Braxton DeWeese in the 13 is P11 right now. Travis Beckner in that 27, almost wadded it up on the restart, but he is slowly making his way to the front. He's the second of the drivers that are outside of the cut line coming into the night.
And even with him getting up into the 9th position with the 44 and 48 running up front, he's still 4 below the cut line as it runs. So he still has work to do. And he said it last season, Hunter, he led all those laps, didn't get the victory, but definitely fast here. But for everyone here, really the only one who got through the field effectively was Logan Clampett. That's really because he's Logan Clampett, but Beckner's definitely had more of a struggle, and he's still trying to work to at least get into the top 8 positions.
Yeah, he's still looking on the 28 of John Furness for that 8th position. Meanwhile, getting a little crowded up here just in front of him. That's Philip Groner, Connor O'Kresick, Logan Clampett, 5th, 6th, and 7th. O'Kresick going to look low. Groner going to move up on that 2nd lane, and Clampett's just going to run behind and just run his line.
Kresick drops to the bottom. And 100 laps to go this time through. So clicking laps away, only one yellow, lap 45. We've been green ever since.
It's kind of an awkward situation because this does not leave us green to the end without pit stops. You still have to get fuel. You're like 20 laps short, 15 laps short, somewhere around there, 15 to 20 at this point. So you're going to have to do a much shorter run to get to your pit window than probably everyone was anticipating. So we might see a lot more drivers trying to push hard before their pit stop at this point, but you'll definitely be seeing drivers, if we go green to that point, as 28 and 27 almost hit, if this goes green to that point, you'll definitely see drivers stretching at the lap 140, hoping for that caution.
Well, we had a good send there through 3 and 4. Is going to be alongside Furness. Might have clipped the wall a little bit. Still door-to-door for the 8th position, heading into turn 1. Beckner going to be a little bit deep into the turn, but Furness might have the run coming down the back.
Good battle there between the 27 and 28. Little contact again into 3. This is a fierce fight between these two. And there's O'Kresick way up high out of the groove. Got into the marbles and slowed himself down.
Ooh, Beckner really wanted to clear high there out of turn 4, but just couldn't quite do it. You could see the difference from being fully clear to the 28 actually having the advantage into turn number 1, as Beckner does not go to the yellow line. He kind of crowds Furness. It's kind of what you got to do to make passes when it's tough to pass. And he has enough room in front of him. He might just try to slide up in front of the 28 through the corner entry through center, but not quite able to do so. Furness held the right rear. They're going to make more contact, and they did. This is tight racing.
He can try to slide up and clear him, but could happen.
Oh, look out.
We saw this go sour the last time. Quarter panel versus front left fender.
Yeah, the contact is being kind of funky tonight, so they've got to be very, very careful. Now he doesn't have room to slide up because Logan Clampett's trying to go 3 wide around the inside. It's actually this is all for the 5th position, and you've got Scioli right there, so it's really for the 4th position. So Beckner, that's kind of hurting his battle because everyone's being checked up by Jeff Wright kind of at the front of it all.
Yeah, everybody's running the bottom for the most part. Got some guys trying to experiment in the upper lanes throughout the turns, you see. You got about 3 different lanes being used there, but Beckner's still to the inside of Furness. Can't get that done. Here comes Clampett to the outside of O'Kresick. That's for the 6th position. And then Philip Groner trying to run away from it all in 5th.
Furness is just like the mosquito in the ear of Beckner right now. Will not let him clear on the bottom. And whichever lane the 14 holds up more is going to end up losing this spot.
Linebackers gonna have to settle in and maybe try to do something different, but he's gonna have to just fire it back to the bottom and hoping Furness has a mistake. But it just takes a little longer for the tires to get worn. Oh, someone had a wiggle back there on 1 and 2, but it just takes a lot longer than the drivers anticipated for these tires to get worn enough to make that bottom line work a little bit better to the point where slide jobs become possible. And you're seeing that in action right now. It is just a little bit too difficult to get that run on the bottom enough to clear him in the corner. And if Beckner's not careful, you'll have Brad Slaughter to his right rear, and he might lose a position at the end of the day.
Yeah, he's still trying that inside lane. He's not giving up yet. He's still got a good enough run to where he can get alongside of him, but he's hoping that maybe one of these times he'll be able to clear him from that bottom lane, so not giving up yet. Meanwhile, just down the road, Philip Groner still holding off Logan Clampitt for 5th. So he's kind of closed in on the bumper at Scioli.
Sorry, Hunter. They're getting closer and closer in the corners, these two.
I think Beckner is going to have to settle for the spot for now. Maybe try a different trajectory to the outside, perhaps. Jake Nichols has been the dominant force in this race. No one has really come close. But 70, all 70 of the laps so far.
Not that he needs bonus points, but he is 10 away from wrapping up the most laps led bonus point, and these drivers aren't bidding anytime soon without a caution. So,
and look at the cut line between Zach Nichols and Jeff Wright.
All comes down to tiebreakers sometimes, and he just barely has a tiebreaker too. It's top 5s actually, so that could end up looming large if nothing changes today. And they're with Jeff Wright's speed at 1.5 miles, and obviously Zach Nichols has shown his speed there too with a win at Texas. They're going to be in a dogfight if this stands next week, but still a long way to go. One result currently pending I'm surprised about is Braxton DeWeese. He's been the model of consistency all season, but he's really not running that well, and I'm wondering if that left rear damage is hurting him. He's back in 12th, and he really hasn't moved.
Whoa, the 28.
Oh, man.
That was a send.
And Beckner should take advantage of this, try to get to the outside, but he's not close enough to do that.
Probably throw it back to the inside just a little bit. Try to get some clean air on the nose coming off corner number 4. Not going to be enough, but he's probably going to send it down beneath the 28 again.
On board with the 27. Remind you of the points picture. Travis Beckner 4 back. He needs every position he can get.
And it's all because Zach Nichols and Jeff Wright are having great races themselves. They're in the top 3, and they've been pretty much there for the entirety of the race. So Beckner having a poor qualifying effort has really contributed to this point situation he's in now, where he really does need to get these positions to be having a better chance at Kansas. And with how his aggression is, you wonder if he starts getting physical with Fergus anytime soon.
Well, he's been borderline physical with him throughout this the first restart of the race, but second stint of this first half that's about to come to a close. But a little further up the road, the 7 of Scioli's closed up to the bumper of Jeff Wright for 3rd again, running in the 4th spot, but behind him in 5th, Logan Clampitt finally got around Philip Groner, so now he's going to start applying pressure to the 7. Going to look to the inside as the 7 of Scioli tries to generate a run on the outside, and all the way up outside back there, John Furness.
I think he finally gave it to Beckner.
He might have, or just had a moment there through 1 and 2, but nonetheless, Beckner, the big winner out of that battle, can finally focus on Connor O'Kresick just in front of him for 7th.
Yeah, the real question mark everybody has is Logan Clampitt in this number 90 or 44, whichever way you look at it. He's driven all the way from the back of the field. He's way up in the marbles there, too far.
Yeah, I would love to get a replay of that, because if you could look at the suspension on that car over those bumps at the top of 1 and 2, you can tell why that lane is never used. Zachary Karp, when we saw that pass he made, he pushed the limits. This is too high. You'll see why. Watch the car just bang right there and bang again. You can just see it hopping up and down. Too many bumps to make any sort of ground up, and he lost about 0.3 of a second on that lap alone because of that.
Could have been what happened to Furness.
Delicate balance, I think it is. Delicate balance, though, because if you go up the hill, There is some speed to be gained until you jump that kind of rubber cushion and end up in the marbles, then you get up into the bumps and it just gets messy.
And it's such a fine line, too. I think if the 97 could figure out how to perfect that, he'd be a lot faster. Speaking of that, he's actually side by side of Alex Bell for the 13th position. He's letting the 15 go. But yeah, that's why you just don't see those drivers go that far up there, because if you miss your line by maybe the width of a tire, an extra width of the tire, you're going to be close to the outside wall and you might lose a position out of it. I thought there was caution out, but it's halfway this time by, so Jake Nichols does wrap up that bonus point. This is the biggest lead we've seen tonight at 1.3 seconds, Hunter.
Yeah, we don't have no halftime cautions, no performance, none of that. Maybe next season, though, we'll probably talk about it. But yeah, Jake Nichols has been the talk of the town here in Corn Country. He's led, I think, almost every single lap. Or has he led every lap?
Yeah, every one.
Well, just like the script says, but he's been untouchable. Zach Nichols has been second in command to the Nichols regime, but they've kind of been checking out from the rest of the field. It's third on back, Kyle, where it's been kind of a game of chicken, if you will.
Yeah, it's been pretty exciting back there, hasn't it? Logan Clampett now alongside the 7 of Scioli, but that's sort of the unpreferred groove battling on that inside lane.
Zachary Carr is coming in the pit lane, so this would be really early for a one-stop. I saw him get sideways out of turn 2. I wonder if he's just calling it a night, as it's 90. It's supposed to be the 90, but the 44, the other 44 has been fast. I think Scioli might just concede and hope he can follow him past the 48 of Jeff Wright, possibly.
So they'll settle in line here, so Clampett up to 4th, Scioli down to 5th. Big winner last week from Michigan. He'll almost send to the inside. Got close to the bumper, but no contact.
To tell you, Clampett is running pace that is kind of co-requisite with the rest of the top 3 or 4. And give him enough time and that extra pit stop, and he really could be a threat. He's a full 3 seconds back from Jake Nichols, but there's a lot of racing left to go. 30 minutes worth. I wouldn't consider Jake safe just yet by any stretch.
No, he's not safe at all, especially if the 44 of Zach Nichols starts cutting into this lead, as I think he took a 10th out of it from last time I checked. And with the way the fall off is right now, Jake Nichols' fastest lap on this run is a 23.8. He's about 1.3 seconds off of that time. So you put it that way, if Zach Nichols short pits him, mathematically, if he short pits him by 1 lap, that's the race lead, and he has it. So it only takes one different strategy, one different lap pitting on to change the trajectory of this race. And he is kind of what we saw last run, where the 73 got out to a bigger lead, and then the 44 was not way faster than him, but he did start inching in on him a little bit. Like, we're starting to see a little bit of that today, or this run, I should say. And at the same time, once again, we're seeing Jeff Wright holding up everyone up behind him. This time it's Logan Clampett.
Yeah, Clampett's caught up with Jeff Wright now, and Clampett's actually been running lap time somewhat similar to Jake Nichols. Now we'll look to the inside here underneath the 48 for 3rd. This is a chance to talk to Kyle after the race, the bigger battle. Can't quite get around him just yet, but he's closed it up to where he can apply pressure to the 48.
That 30 second of questioning is pretty coveted.
There's not many opportunities left at that.
No, not for a while. At least not in oval racing here in iRacing. What I am looking for, I'm making baguettes this weekend. That's my next project.
Evolved in the baguette territory.
Well, I mean, I did croissants and I slayed those, and so baguettes are easier, but it should be straightforward.
He went from croissants to a baguette.
Yeah, do some French onion soup, do a little French cooking, you know. Been fun to explore, man. Oh boy. The challenge is when I get home from work, it's like if you need to go shopping for things, by the time you're done cooking, it's like already 7:30. So that's why it's like, and I start these at 7:45
Here we go.
Central, and here comes that battle for 3rd place.
Yeah, I thought he was going to hit him, but I think this is going to be a slide job. I think he knows he's faster. He's just going to take this position. Just dives into the corner. We haven't seen this yet. He dives in the corner. He's going to come up in front of Jeff Wright. And Wright's going to have a run back at him, but I think Wright knows that it's not a battle he's going to win. So he's finally going to concede that. And I'm sure James Scioli's not going to be happy about that, because he didn't do that for him earlier, especially when it was early in the race. But I think Clampett is a bigger threat to win at this point. We'll see if he can chop down the gap to those top 2.
Also, he didn't do that because he's a playoff driver. Logan Clampett, just out there running for fun, just trying to win races. So I guess he knows the drill for Logan Clampett, but there's bigger battles to worry about rather than a non-playoff driver trying to get around you and possibly win, which Clampett is the highest of those to do that. The other highest driver, Connor O'Kresick, right along the bumper of Philip Groner for 6th.
Yeah, it's a fun little battle here. Travis Beckner in 8th, quietly moving up the order.
And we went green at around lap 50, so if we went green to the end, it would be a 110 lap run. So we're probably within 20 to 30 laps, maybe even earlier than that, maybe 10 to 20 laps away from the potential final pit stop. But I think you're going to see these drivers, Hunter, stretch this way longer, because if you pit here, you go a lap down, maybe even 2, depending on where you are in the field. So you're going to see a lot of drivers not trying to get caught that lap down.
Yeah, not going to want that to happen as closing in on this race has gone by pretty quick. We're almost down to the final 60 laps.
Yeah, it's flying by. That's because we've only had one yellow at lap 45. That's sort of been the trend here this week, is how quickly Iowa has transpired. We head to Kansas next week out for the last race of this round for each of our 3 series. Alex Bell working over Brad Slaughter Jr. here for 12th.
Slaughter and Weishart are starting to go backwards. Braxton DeWeese got back into the top 10, and now the 15 starting to surge back to the rear bumper of the 8. You can see center of the corner, the difference in speed. He almost got the right rear. Matter of fact, he did get the right rear of Slaughter here. I wonder if 8's going to come down, because he usually is one to test strategy, but Bell is definitely faster at this point, and he is pitting.
Oh, didn't know if he was sideways coming on the pit road or not. It's just the angle, but that wasn't an issue Monday night for a couple of guys.
Zach Nichols started to track down Jake Nichols. Was 1.3 at one point, wasn't it, Connor? Now to 0.6 of a second and shrinking.
Kind of what we mentioned, that's what it kind of was earlier, and now at this point he's doing the same thing again, and it's not big gains, it's really only hundredths per lap, but with how many laps we're doing on a set of tires, it's making a difference. But once he gets into the dirty air of the 73, we'll see if that gap ends up kind of staying where it is, or he's able to break through that dirty air bubble, as these two are still pretty far away from Clampett, although Clampett is a 10th faster right now than those two.
Looking through, I hope my thing froze, but Zach Nichols has closed the gap down a little bit, 0.7 of a second. Not sure if that's just Jake catching lap traffic or not, but nonetheless, battle starting to dwindle, but this one not dwindling yet. O'Kresick all the way up on the outside lane, still trying to get around Groner for 6th.
Little battle here as we close in on 60 laps to go. Kresick turns down to the yellow line, up, accelerates. A little bit quicker than the 11 at the moment. Ooh, he heard almost the rears lock up, got on the brakes really hard to arrest the momentum. He's way up high, straddling that marble line again.
Yeah, he tried to get the Groner's right rear. It's the oh-so important part of iRacing in any oval series, is if you get to the right rear, you pretty much won the battle, and he's trying to do it, but couldn't quite do it. Weishart got passed by DeWeese, but he's actually staying with the 13 machine, who's down on points as it runs right now currently himself, but yeah, it's still got a lot of battles going on through the field. I think Weishart and DeWeese are pretty evenly matched. Well, Matt Kemp, we haven't talked about Matt Kemp. I think he actually pit, and that was a scheduled pit stop. Someone actually just missed pit lane, and it was Justin Munsell. He kind of like missed pit lane, but still got in. So Matt Kemp is pit. I believe that was scheduled. And I think this was scheduled too, but he kind of missed it.
I think that 14 is just flirting with disaster. There goes the 27 of Beckner. He's now on pit lane.
Boy, looking at these lap times, Logan Clampett been a 10th quicker the last handful of laps than both Nichols in front of him, so gap's starting to dwindle, and really curious to see when the leaders are going to come down and pit.
Well, ideally, you'd want to stay out a little longer, right? Because we're, like, the next time by is effectively splitting with this run that we've had directly in 2. But you want to have a little bit more tire than somebody else at the end, but you have to worry about someone undercutting you and getting the advantage.
Like we were talking about. Oops, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think track position is a little bit too key. The only one I can see that's been making steady progress throughout the field has been Logan Clamper. Other than that, some guys have swapped positions here and there and really haven't climbed up the leaderboard too much, but that 44 of Clampett seems like he's the only one that can really navigate through the field. Like, hey, he's still running lap times quicker than Jake Nichols and Zach Nichols. He might pass Zach Nichols before we even get a pit stop between the top three.
Yeah, I think he is at the rate that he's going.
But I think that's why you're going to see I think that's probably why we're seeing more people undercut. I saw DeWeese come in and pit. Oh, big wiggle from the 44, with the 44 trailing him, I guess. As Zach Nichols up to the bottom. I think he's going to pit here. But I think that's why the undercut's going to be valuable, because that track position is so important.
Clampett's
and
going to follow him.
So important.
Oh, the 44 missed.
Oh, that's huge.
Oh, that's going to lose him so many positions. He still somehow got into the pit lane, but he's going to lose so much track position. That is huge for the points picture.
Yeah, that was not what he needed to have happen. You need to execute to perfection in his position. And it wasn't perfect. It was P2, but this is not what he needed.
It's such a sharp left-hand turn to get into this pit lane. It's underrated as one of the hardest pit entries in oval racing on this sim. It's such a hard left turn. It's such a harsh transition. That's going to cost him big time for sure. As he finally gets to his pit stall, Jake Nichols immediately responded to those two pitting. Garrett Grant pits as well. Jeff Wright's going to be the next leader, really the second leader of the race, Jeff Wright is.
Well, not only that, I was caught off guard by Logan Clampett coming down pit road all the way from the outside lane, so maybe he gassed it up a little bit because he thought that Clampett was going to carry too much speed and possibly hit him, and he just lost control. So that's going to be huge for not only the race itself, but the point standings as this race continues on.
I think Clampett realized Zach Nichols was pitting and did not want him to get the advantage and get too far out, and there was no one around those two anyway, so I think he figured, I can pit and probably get close to him on pit entry, and that's what happened, and it probably paid off better than he thought it would, as still waiting on some of the leaders to pit. Jeff Wright has continued to lead, or he's continuing to lead now, but he's continued to hold up James Scioli this entire race.
I don't know if it's Scioli's throttle or if it's some internet issue, but it sounds like he's like feathering the throttle, which is strange. It's a pedal problem or something.
Jeff Wright, meanwhile, as I said that, he finally comes in, so Scioli gets some clean air to himself, also gets a bonus point for leading a lap.
Also big here, Clampett pitted earlier than Nichols, came out in front of him even after the 73 finished his pit stop, but one lap fresher tires for Jake Nichols. Should be interesting to see how that's going to play out. Meanwhile, Scioli's going to check down the pit road, same with Philip Groner.
Yep, the cleaner pit entries for these Chevrolets, so nicely done there.
That's what we're talking about. One lap is going to could potentially make all the difference in this race. He went third to first, basically. Clampett did by undercutting by that lap. And I don't know if Jake Nichols just didn't have that good of an entry, but losing the lead there, that could be the race. I'm not sure if he's going to have the pace to get Clampett.
Yeah, difference was 0.4 seconds through pit. So Clampett 40.6, 41 flat for Jake Nichols, although he did have a faster stop by 0.1, but something was lost there, probably from the entry to pit road, if I had to guess.
28 Furnace is your race leader, and he's going to peel down from the high side to straighten in line that entry a little better. I actually think that was a pretty smart call if you can clear yourself the racetrack. And he got in there pretty nicely.
That might have been what helped Clampett as well, because he did the exact same thing, Hunter. But yeah, you need to have the room for that. We do not want to see anyone pull a Quinn Houff. But yeah, that was definitely calculated, and he'll at least have a tire advantage to the end, at least a slight one, as Shane Therian takes the lead. He'll get a bonus point for leading a lap as well, but where he is, it's going to be, I don't know how much it's going to make a difference, but I noticed Therian's pace. He was very slow at the beginning of the run this time, and then he got faster as the run went on. I don't think he's trying to save. He can't make it from here, but this might be his gamble to try to catch a yellow at the right time.
Not a bad strategy. Probably the only one that wants to see a Quinn Houff being attempted from anyone in the field. But there's Beckner, still has yet to pit along with Slaughter. And there's Logan Clampett with fresher tires to the inside. Going to get around him for 7th. And A second back is Jake Nichols in the 73.
We're down to the last 45 laps or so. And we'll see how things pan out here in the third to last race of the Area Florida State Builders Pro Series season. And make sure you check out Elite Entertainment, add some life to the party this fall with Elite Entertainment. Located in Boiling Springs, South Carolina, Elite Entertainment provides high-quality band production to entertain at any location, including karaoke, singo, and more. Visit Linktree/Elite Entertainment LLC for all contact information. And make sure you check out the High Banks podcast. Just two blue-collar guys, Nick and Alex, talking about NASCAR and more. Listen to episodes 205 with Brad Slaughter and episode 207 with Jacob Bell, available on Spotify. Clampett moves his way forward, trying to wrestle this race away from drivers like Jake Nichols, who had led up to that point every single lap.
Yeah, and it seemed like it was so dominant for Jake Nichols, and now it's turning on its head. That one little strategy difference, and Logan Clampett might be on his way to start it going from second to last to first. It's been an absolutely wild drive, and not really one caution. He only had one caution to reset, and it's definitely made a huge difference, but he was still about to get to the top 10 anyways before that caution. The speed is undeniable tonight.
Yeah, the pace from Logan Clampett's been electrifying as Jake Nichols has closed in a little bit, about 7 car lengths separating the two, but then again there's Travis Beckner in front of him, which kind of played into a little effect for that. But nonetheless, going to be an interesting battle if this goes caution free to the end.
Whoa, the 73,
Whoa.
Jake Nichols and Travis Beckner. That was a fun battle to watch, and it's not over yet, is it?
I don't quite think so.
It's going to hurt Nichols. Could have been the difference maker right there, but he's still trying to reel in the Logan Clampett machine about half a second now, maybe even less. He's really closed the gap quite well, I must say. I didn't think this was going to happen, but nonetheless, he's trying to reel him in.
Matt Kemp, we talked about him earlier briefly. There's that 51 running top 10 tonight, but on much older tires than a handful of cars right behind him.
And this is really the playoff points are so jumbled because there's so many different strategies. But like you said, we haven't really talked about Matt Kemp. He pit earlier than a lot of other drivers, and he's in the top 10 because of it. Slaughter pit even earlier than him, and now he's going to be battling this 51 actually for position at this point. But yeah, we didn't really see this variation of strategy in pit entry laps on Tuesday. So this is definitely something different that we have seen. And we're still waiting on 3 drivers to pit. Shane Therian, Brody Falker, Josanna Sokak are still waiting on that yellow, still waiting to pit.
Clampett's picked up the pace a little bit, a 10th quicker that last time through. And still a 10th quicker that last time through. So he's starting to pick up the pace a little bit, seeing the 73 close in, but half a second to 4 car lengths, though, still between the 90 and the 73, Kyle. That would be the race for the win, but they're going to encounter lap traffic in the middle of that battle.
Yeah, that'll make things a little more interesting. It is a 1 lap difference. I don't know if it's enough, but Jake Nichols might be able to turn up the heat. Early in the run, I think Nichols was quicker than Logan Clampett. It just came towards the end where that Clampett car got a little quicker. So is Jake faster in the short run and mid-length run? He certainly looks it now, doesn't he?
He might be. I just don't know if he's going to be able to make this pass. It takes laps to make this pass, and I'm just not sure 1 lap advantage is going to be enough. I think had he realized Clampett would jump him with just 1 lap earlier, I think he would have just went longer and got the tire advantage like the 7 of Scioli, the 48 of Jeff Wright, like those guys did. But instead, he's going to basically have to battle with even tires. And I'd still be surprised if he makes this pass.
4 might be the only downfall to where he needs to run the outside lane. He's running the inside, whereas Clampett's running the outside. But 1 and 2, he's doing a really good job here of arcing the line through the center of the turn, and then on corner exit, again, a good launch into 3 and 4. But now we have a little flip-flop here. Now Clampett's on the bottom. Nichols going to run the outside lane. Should be interesting to see the run he gets.
Laps clicking down in the final moments here of this race. Zach Nichols recovering to 9th place. Let's see how things are shaking out now. Zach Nichols 10 down from the cut line.
Oh, yeah, but that is with Therian leading, but he's still having to work through this field, and he's having to have Jeff Wright follow him through, basically, which I'm sure doesn't help. But here comes Skyley with fresher tires. He's also joining in this battle.
Yeah, this is going to shake and shuffle quite a bit in the next 33 laps,
Whoa.
too.
Oh, does he have the right rear? Nope, he hit the wall.
So did Okresic. Okresic tapped the wall. Not to mention the battle for the lead's going to heat up. Brody Falliker and Jesse Anasogak, the top three have yet to pit, but they're going to duke battle for the lead before they get on the pit road.
Well, based on how the other guys are racing, Connor, we could see a yellow. You would like the lead if that's going to happen.
You would like to not be the yellow, that's for sure. It's just kind of pointless battling at this point. I still think they're probably at least at the most, I guess at the least, yeah, 15 laps short. So they're just hoping for that yellow. And there's only 7 seconds between them and Logan Clampett, who's already pit. But speaking of Logan Clampett, Jake Nichols is on the inside of him for what could cycle out to be the lead. It was a big dive into 3, but he can't quite hold it.
And the outside lane's still too powerful to overcome. They'll have to find a different route around that 44 of Clampett. Meanwhile, the lead's still heating up. These two could be duking it out for a position, and they could catch up to the top 3 before this even settles. But there is still pride to be said for Brody Falliker and Jesse Anasogak. They want to lead a lap, so there's that's at stake. Meanwhile, back here, right around 10th, it's Zach Nichols up to 8th, Skyley in 9th, trying to take that position away, and Jeff Wright in the top 10 spot with Okresic closing in.
Good battles everywhere on the racetrack right now. Final 12 minutes of racing. We've only had one yellow flag so far. Could we see it in the closing stages? Could it be a playoff contender or two?
Yeah, this is definitely the battle that Shane Therian's hoping goes sour, because it would flip-flop his playoff chances big time. And Nichols is going to try to hold on at any point possible. It's going to be a tough battle. Skyley, I think, is sick of sitting behind people, so I think it'd be really aggressive. He dove hard into turn 1, and he slid up in front of Zach Nichols and got the job done. Really good pass.
They just parked it in front of that 44 of Zach Nichols, and Nichols going to try and negotiate a run on the outside with Jeff Wright and Okresic following the tire tracks, but the 7's boot scooting and boogieing away.
All the while, Clampett and Nichols. I think Jake used up some tire on that last assault on the number 90. Or either that or he's saving up some to make a final push in the last 25 or so laps, because he has dropped slightly off the tailpipes of that green and black 44.
Ooh, Therian just got a tap from Anasogak, actually, but they kept it straight. Yeah, I think we were seeing a 73. He was diving into turn 3 so hard when I was looking at that battle. I would be very surprised if he kept any sort of right front tire life on it and doing that. He's trying his hardest just to pick where Logan Clampett isn't running. I just think if Clampett runs the high side and doesn't let him get the right rear, I still think Jake Nichols is going to struggle to get that position away. If these 3 stay on the track long enough to where Clampett has to pass them, though, that could definitely change that battle between Clampett and Jake Nichols as well. This is a dogfight.
Yeah, and they're using all 3 lanes of the racetrack, too, so that's going to make it a little more challenging. Not to mention some lap cars that are coming through, like Casey Lacanis in the 50. Fresher tires than the top 3, obviously.
Wow. Jeff Wright just slid in front of Zach Nichols at the same time. I'm looking at every battle possible. Now those two are in a dogfight for 9th. This is a dogfight. Will probably cycle out to be about 20th or something with how long they're staying out.
Look at the fresh tires of Lacanis go to work, and around the 2nd position for Shane Therian, but again, just trying to get a lap back.
A little messy down here for a moment as everyone kind of scatters. Anasogak now leads this race. Jake Nichols has not been able to turn the wick back up on Logan Clampett. Clampett's advantage extends to half a second. Now with things slightly settled. Zach Nichols down 15 in this current position. Shane Therian no longer the leader, though, so that would change the math. There you go.
Yeah, they're in. Hey, this is his Hail Mary for the week for sure. Just trying to stay out, get that yellow flip-flop, but it's not working out. It makes Jake Nichols look a little bit better, but really no one looks good, even with Therian running 3rd. And I think Therian's finally going to call it and come down to pit lane, so that'll change it even more.
As the 90 and the 73 close in on the top 2, yet to pit still. Going to be interesting seeing how Clampett negotiates through the top 2 or if they just opt to pit as well.
But Logan Clampett really kind of sitting on deck here to pick up a victory, unless Jake Nichols can find a little extra speed or if there's a yellow to reset things. And he's only, he hasn't actually led any laps yet because they haven't cycled back to the lead. Jake Nichols led the entire first 105 laps of this race.
It's looking like he's going to need a yellow to lead lap 160 or beyond. He's lost even more time to Clampett. It's now about 0.7 of a second. The only good news for him is that he has no pressure in behind, so he's pretty much locked into a top 2 position. Travis Beckner will not catch him. Skyly Wright, Zach Nichols on fresher tires. They're not showing enough speed to get him either in 20 laps time, as 80 and 42 are right up in front of him. This is one of Jake Nichols' probably his last opportunities. If they hold up Clampett even a little bit, he would have to pounce, but he's not close enough to take advantage, I don't think.
Well, Clampett's going to run the tire tracks just a little bit below the 42 there through 1 and 2. Shouldn't be a problem getting around him into 3. Might be a little bit trouble with Anna Sogak on corner exit, but again, Nichols possibly his only shot at trying to get around the 44 of Clampett. Whoa! Brody Falliker. Not a moment there, but he's going to need a pit.
Yeah, once these leaders get by, or the drivers that will cycle to the lead, I don't think there's much use in staying out at that point, so we'll likely see them peel the pit lane. Jake is seeing this slip away. There goes Falliker to pit road.
88's going to hang on as long as he can and try to even stay on the door of Logan Clampett, but that's not going to do anything. So finally, coming to 17 laps to go next time by, Logan Clampett will finally look at his first lap led after starting in 27th position, or at least his second. I don't know if he led that lap, but it has been a race-long affair to get to the front.
And at the right place at the right time. Now the only thing he needs is this race to go caution-free to the end, and should be in a good spot.
Oh, Anna Sogak way up the hill.
Man.
I wonder if he's got a tire going down almost. Got way up in the marbles. Sometimes it's hard to tell. 95 laps on that set, though.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he was having any sort of tire issues for sure, but he's going to go out a little longer. This is pretty much the limit of what I thought the fuel could do, so I don't know how much longer he wants to do this.
I mean, if caution came out now, everyone would pit and he'd stay third. So as long as you've got something in the tank.
Kind of why I'm surprised at that point Thierry didn't just run the fuel dry. And I know he's probably figuring he undercuts those two he was battling with and gets at least those positions, but I think at that point, where you are in the playoffs, if he finished like 10th, he would have probably still been must win. Might as well have just ran the fuel dry. Battle that might heat up near the end of this race, by the way, Hunter. James Scarley is catching Travis Beckner. We'll see if he gets there, but he has closed in.
Yeah, he's reeled him in quite a bit, and this is for a top 5 spot at the end of the day. Beckner on the yellow entering this race, so he needs all those spots that he can to put himself in a good position for Kansas next week, and 7 to Scarley's trying to do the opposite of that, put him at a worse position. Might have enough time to close in.
By the way, Kyle Batter for 9th is good too. Philip Groner, he didn't really have a good pit cycle. He's trying to get back to the top 10. He's trying to get Connor McCrescent.
Crossover, cross-under action here. Furness in that number 28. Kind of been all over the place tonight. Led down as far as 22nd place. Now he's right about smack dab in the middle of it.
Probably not what he was hoping for. I think he ran better than this, but some people have been able to benefit from the pit cycle, like Travis Beckner, who's now in 4th. Make that 3rd, just as Sogak finally pits with 12 laps to go. He got way closer to the end than I thought he would, but finally it's fully cycled out. So put Beckner to 3rd. He's really benefited from the cycle. Guys like Philip Groner and Braxton DeWeese, they haven't really moved at all.
11 laps to go this time through, and Clampett's lead is extended to 1.1. This has just been a pretty phenomenal race for him. And if you go back and look at the races that he has participated in this season, he has put on a show. when he has showed up. Now, so far this year, he's only participated in 5 races. In 4 of the 5, it was a top 5. In 3 of the 5, it was a first or a second.
It's not really surprising. If you follow pro sim racing on the oval side at all, you hear Logan Clampett's name. He's in the college series. He's in Road to Pro. He ran in the Coca-Cola iRacing series. He's one of the best sim racers that's ever really done it on iRacing. So this is really not a shock to anyone, as his lead's now about 1.2, 1.3 seconds, as Falliker's trying to just make lap time. I think Furness is faster than Groner. I'm not sure if he's going to get there. I think Groner's also faster than Zach Nichols as well. And Scioli is almost by Beckner. They're side by side.
Oh, this is going to be a contact.
I've seen that before.
Yeah, we have.
And this is for third, guys. This is to talk to Kyle after the race. You don't get too many more of those opportunities. So Beckner trying to be in a good position to do that. Less than 10 to go. But Scioli going to try and get a nice run through 3 and 4. Cross him over.
Yeah, Beckner has put himself in a great spot here tonight.
Oh, they're going to hit again. I think that might be the last one.
Absolutely pushing the limits here. Beckner is cleared by the 7. And Scioli moves back to P3.
I think for Beckner, that's not a battle he really wants to push any further. He's actually 3 to the good as it runs, so he can't throw away a good night with getting involved in a crash. And those two have had clashes in the past, but not tonight.
Well, good timing to talk about rickshotsauce.com. Make sure you head over to rickshotsauce.com. They got some great hot sauces made locally in the South Florida area. And make sure that you check out the Rick's Hot Sauce Rookie of the Year battle in the Area Cup Series. See which driver takes home that $100 prize as the highest finishing rookie in the point standings. That'll be done in a couple weeks' time. But the Rick's Hot Sauce car is up to 3rd place in the final 6 laps of this race.
And he will not get the Jake Nichols. He's not lapping fast enough, but it's been a good sequence. Going longer on the tires. He's been able to have a good run. The 15, or no, that was a 4.8. You almost hit the wall. As we'll see. I think Beckner's fine in 4th, but David Weishart had been gaining on him. Groner and Furness is really the best battle on the track right now, with Logan Clampett running away.
Furness, Groner, Zach Nichols, kind of that little trio over there. Going to be a good battle to the end.
Now these 3 here. Zach Nichols trying to recover from that spin onto pit lane. That was a big mistake that will cost him dearly and could put him in, I won't call it dire straits, but not great ones next week.
Yeah, and how different it could have been. I mean, he's running in 7th. He was locked into a top 3, so he'd at least be within striking distance, but having to gain 6 positions on a driver who has 3 wins this season, that's going to be a tall task next week if something doesn't change in these last 3 laps or so. And he's still got to fend off Philip Groner and John Furness. He's hoping Weishart can get up to Beckner for that position. He has closed in, but I just don't think Weishart can make that pass in time.
3 laps to go and coming to 2 laps to go, Hunter.
I got a little confused. I thought that Weishart was about to get passed by Zach Nichols, but it's just a similar looking car. But Philip Groner might have a chance to get around him if he can clear Furness and try to steer away from him, but he's looking to the inside. It's not going to be enough.
Logan Clampett comes out of turn 4. 1 lap to go from Iowa, Connor.
1 more lap to go, and this is my pick. It's been it's Logan Clampett. You don't bet against him, but even still, 27th place with only 1 caution to drive through the field the way he has been incredible. And he's got a 2-second lead at this point in the run.
Well, he will not be denied tonight. From the back to the front to 2 seconds out in the lead. It'll be his 2nd win on the season. It'll be his 5th top 5 in 6 starts. Checkered flag, Logan Clampett wins at Iowa. Nichols, Scioli, Beckner, Weishart, the top 5. Then Jeff Wright, Zach Nichols, Philip Groner, John Furness, Connor Oprezek, the rest of your top 10. Oh, contact out of 4.
Oh,
ooh, that was a little dramatic.
Well, that's Garrett Grant finishing his 100th pro start style, but yeah, what a race.
Green almost all the way. The highlights bookmark column is very short, just the lap 45 caution flag. With Colin Fambro and Rafe Slate. Only 4 DNFs, Zach Carr, Stafford, Slate, Fambro.
And one driver who deservedly gets to do burnouts. He did not dominate this race. He probably only led about 18 laps, but he was the fastest driver, no doubt.
He will celebrate in style. Here's a look at your race results, and it's a lot of Chevrolets. No Fords up in the top 10 this time. Clampett, Nichols, Skyley, Beckner, Weishart. As we mentioned, Jeff Wright, my pick, finished 6th. Then Zach Nichols, Groner, Furness, and Okresic, the remainder of the top 10.
Braxton DeWeese, he's been a model of consistency, but we talk about it all the time. You can't top 15 your way to a championship 4. He's going to need a good run next week, projected to be 6 below the cut line. He finishes back there. Bell, Senesac, Slaughter, Grant, then Munsell, Mitchell, Bryson, Kemp, Ed Robertson, the top 20. And then outside the top 20, it's Shane Theory and Hunter, probably the only driver who definitely needs to win no matter what.
Yeah, needed the yellow to come out, didn't do that, so probably going to be a must-win for Shane Tyrion. Casey Lakatos, Tyrion, Falker, Anasogak, Carr, Stafford, Slate, and Fambro round out the field.
That was a tough race for some of those drivers there. And just quickly looking at the points picture again, there's your cut line shift. Beckner 3 above it, Jeff Wright 3 below it. I'm surprised to see Jeff Wright in that position, even with the 6th place, so some work for him left to do. As we wait for maybe some drivers to chat with here. It'll be Skyley, Nichols, and Clampett joining us up here to talk to before we sign off for the night. Guys, a lot of green flag racing this week, but what does Kansas hold for us next week, Connor?
It's going to be a lot of chaos. We saw there last season in the playoffs. We saw a lot of chaos, and we saw some championship competitors kind of emerge out of nowhere in all 3 series last season, with Curhan and Cup and Slaughter in the Truck Series, and the Pro Series race was entertaining last season as well. So with it being a cutoff race to the championship round instead of just to get into the round of 8, it should be pretty darn exciting. It's a very racy racetrack, especially for these types of cars. Guys like Scioli, guys like Nichols, guys like Beckner, they're the ones you're going to see at the front, but also don't count out Jeff Wright and Zach Nichols. They're really fast at those tracks too.
James Scioli comes home 3rd place in the number 7, passes Travis Beckner with just a couple laps to go. A solid top 5, and it's going to put you in a pretty good position heading into Kansas. James, take us through it.
I was kind of out to lunch at the beginning. I don't know. Some of these tracks have gotten you can drive them quite a bit different now after the update to this car. It's been a little while since the update, but some of the tracks haven't gone to. Some tracks drive the same. Some tracks like this just feel like they drive a little bit different. This one definitely didn't like the bump as much in 1 and 2, so really wide entries there, and usually that would just kind of kill the right front, but it seemed if you could do it right, you could actually end up saving the right front that way. So just kind of spent 2/3 of the race learning, and then finally was able to apply what I learned in the last stage there after pitting, and was able to go longer than everybody. Just knew I wanted to be on offense, have the freshest tires, so went long, and then was able to track my way back from like 15th or 16th all the way to the top 3. So definitely happy with the result. Sad it took me that long to figure it out and get there, but I think that I put myself in a pretty good spot for these playoffs, and hopefully got quite a few points.
We'll see how things pan out for you next week in Kansas. James, thanks so much for your time, and congratulations. We'll see you there.
Thanks, guys. Before jumping off, I want to thank you guys and everybody in the broadcast booth, everybody in the admin tower for taking a couple hours out of your guys' night and helping us do this. Big shout out to David Weishart Racing, Rick's Hot Sauce, Code Skyley, get you $7 off there. Daniels Candles, Butt Kicker, Matco Tools, Chris Sports Cards, Roger Racing Development, and Elwood Designs. And hopefully we have a good Kansas, and then we're racing for a championship.
James Skyerly, P3 tonight in the number 7. James, thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Jake Nichols comes home in 2nd, and perhaps not a disappointing night, Jake, but you did lead a lot of laps, up to lap 105, basically nonstop, and then there on the strategy and the speed from Logan Clampett. Gotcha. Take us through your night. How do you feel?
Pretty good. It was fun. At the end of the night, you just want to have a good time. It was wheeling and dealing. I burned a little too much right front the second run. I think if I didn't, if I wore the same as the first run, I think I would have still been out ahead. But either way, it was fun. Obviously, the best of the rest with playoffs in mind, and I don't know what. I think that'll be pretty solid for the cut line, especially with Logan winning. It's not a new winner in the playoffs or anything, so we should be able to go next week and just race it out. If we have a similar field to this week, number-wise, we should be a virtual lock, just like the trucks, as long as we just don't finish dead last or something. So either way, we'll go have fun next week. I've heard it's pretty loose, so we'll see how it actually is, see if we show up and start wheeling and dealing and see if we can get a win there.
27 points above the cut line by our calculations, Jake. Good luck to you next week at Kansas.
Thank you.
And Logan Clampett joins us again for the second time as a race winner here this season, and only your sixth start. Last win came back at Darlington on August 28th. A couple of months later, you join us again, start 27th, drive through the field with only one yellow flag, and you win by 2.5 seconds. Take us through your night in that drive up through the field.
Yeah, I just decided to do this race last minute. Started last, just see what I could do, and kind of slowly climb my way up, and I didn't think I was going to be too good, and then we got to the long run and I was behind Zach and Jake, and just slowly started creeping up on them and short pit Jake by a lap, and pretty much set sail after that on the long run. But I really love this track and I'm really good on the long run, so it was a fun race. It was really fun. I'm glad we were able to keep it green for so long.
Yeah, it's a really great race. Only one caution flag along the way. Logan, always enjoy having you join us here this evening. Congratulations on a job well done. And P1 for you tonight in number 44.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We'll see you. All right, guys. Iowa, fun week here. We head to Kansas next week. That has not been a disappointing round in seasons past. Connor, final thoughts on tonight and heading into Kansas next week?
Just another good, clean race. We saw great battling, and we saw every lane being used. It's kind of what Iowa was all about with the Xfinity Series car in this Pro Series. We've seen it all the time. And we thought Jake Nichols had one. We thought Zach Nichols could have a shot. And Logan Clampett coming from second to last to get another victory in the Pro Series. And that playoff cut line battle will be pretty interesting because no one besides Jake Nichols really kept themselves fully safe. Groner and Skyler have a gap, but after that, all bets are off, Hunter.
Yeah, it should be an interesting race and how it'll play out, because the last, well, I shouldn't say the last two, but 2 of the 3 races we ran at Kansas for the Pro Series went caution-free both times, and James Kiley was the winner in both events. Only one last lap pass, very controversial, having it back in Season 2. The last corner could be an interesting part of the race, Kyle, but we'll have to wait until next Thursday to find out.
Well, from one Midwestern track to the next, we'll see you at Kansas Speedway next week for the Cup, Truck, and Florida State Builders Area Pro Series. Kyle Heyer, Connor Horn, Hunter Slappy bringing you the action, and we'll see you next week.